Welcome to Meditations, Book 9, presented by Rust Books. In this profound work, Marcus Aurelius explores the nature of existence, virtue, and the self. Here, he offers insight into the trials of the human mind, the challenges of living a moral life, and the acceptance of what is beyond our control. Book 9 delves deeply into the essence of true philosophy, teaching us to align with reason, to meet each moment with calm, and to recognize the transient nature of all things. Join us as we journey through these timeless reflections, as we seek peace and clarity in our everyday lives. Verse 1. He that is unjust is also impious. For the nature of the universe, having made all reasonable creatures one for another, to the end that they should do one another good, more or less, according to the several persons and occasions, but in no way harm one another. It is clear, he who transgresses this divine will is guilty of impiety toward the most ancient and venerable of all the deities. For the nature of the universe is the common parent of all. She is to be honored by all that exist. And that which now exists is connected by blood and kin to what first was and gave it being. She is also called truth, and she is the first cause of all truths. Therefore, he who willingly and knowingly lies is impious, for by lying he commits injustice. And he who lies unwillingly disagrees with the nature of the universe, and, in his resistance, violates the general order of the world. Such a man does no better than to strive and war against nature, applying himself to that which is contrary to truth. Nature had already given him instincts and opportunities enough to find the truth. But having neglected them, he now cannot discern the false from the true. He who pursues pleasures as true good and flees from pain as if it were true evil is also impious. For he must often accuse nature, saying she gives pleasures to the wicked and pain to the good, not according to merit. Again, he who fears pain and misfortune in this world fears what must inevitably happen. That fear is impiety. And he who chases after pleasure will not hesitate to act unjustly to satisfy his desires. That too is impious. Now, those things which nature holds as equally indifferent, pleasure and pain, would not both have been created if both were not to her indifferent. Therefore, those who would live according to nature must hold the same indifference. Whoever is not indifferent in the matters of pleasure and pain, life and death, honor and dishonor, those things nature uses without bias, such a person is impious. When I say that common nature uses these things indifferently, I mean they arise through the natural order of events, by necessity, as either causes or consequences, all according to that first and ancient deliberation of providence. For from the beginning she conceived a world, bearing within herself certain rational seeds and faculties of all things to come. Substances, changes, successions, just so many and just so shaped.
Verse 3. It were indeed more happy, more comforting, for a man to depart from this world, having lived all his life free from falsehood, from dissimulation, from indulgence, and from pride. But if this cannot be, then let it be some consolation, to leave this life joyfully as one weary of such things, to fall out of love with them, rather than to desire to remain and to continue long in those wicked courses. Has experience not yet taught you to flee from the plague? For there is a greater plague than any sickness carried on the air. The corruption of the mind is a far deadlier affliction, far more dangerous than any physical disease. That plague afflicts creatures as living beings. But this plague strikes at men, as beings of reason. Verse 3. You must not face death with scorn, but as one who is well pleased with it. For death is among those things that nature herself has appointed. Think how you accept other changes. A boy becoming a young man, growing old, sprouting teeth, growing a beard, bearing children, delivering them. All natural to mankind according to the seasons of life. Even so is it with death. It too is a natural act. And so, the part of a wise man is not to meet death with pride or violence, but with patience, to await it as one of nature's operations. Just as you now wait for the child within the womb to come forth in its time, so should you calmly expect your soul to part from this outward coat, this skin in which it lies enclosed, like a child in the womb. But you desire something more relatable, a remedy against the fear of death that is not so philosophical, but more powerful and piercing. Then let this be your medicine. Nothing will make you more ready to part with life than to consider well both what it is you are leaving behind and what sort of mindset you shall be free of. True, you must not be offended with others. Take care of them, bear with them meekly. But still, remember this. When your time comes to depart, you will not be leaving behind men who share your values and beliefs. And if they did, that might well make you wish to stay. But now, see how wearisome it is to live among those who think so differently. So you may rightly say, "Hasten, I pray you, O death, lest I too forget myself." Verse 4. He that sins, sins against himself. He that is unjust harms his own soul, for he makes himself worse than he was before. And it is not only he who commits a wrong who is unjust, but he also who omits to do what is right. For injustice often lies in what is left undone. Verse 5. If my present understanding of the moment is clear, if my present action is guided by kindness, and if my present disposition toward whatever proceeds from God is one of acceptance and peace, then that is enough. Verse 6. To wipe away illusion, to act with deliberation, to extinguish desire, to keep the mind free and wholly her own. Verse 7. Among all unreasonable creatures, there is but one kind of unreasonable soul. And among all reasonable beings, there is but one rational soul, shared among them all. Just as all earthly things share one earth, and all who see, see by the same light, and all who breathe draw breath from one air. Now, whatever partakes of a common nature is naturally drawn toward the whole. That which is earthly presses downward to the earth. Liquids seek to flow together. Air gathers into air. Without resistance or force, they cannot be kept apart. And fire, not only by its nature tends upward, but is quick to join with other flames. Anything too dry to resist is easily set alight. So too, whatever shares in reason, and that common rational nature, longs even more to unite with its own kind. For the nobler its nature, the deeper its desire for unity. Even among the animals, though they lack reason, flocks formed, herds gathered, swarms and broods flourished. A kind of natural affection bound them, stronger than that of plants or stones. And among reasonable beings there arose commonwealths, friendships, families, public gatherings. Even in war, conventions and truces. And beyond them, the stars, the planets, though distant, they too reflect harmony and unity, responding to one another in mutual rhythm. So powerful is excellence that even across vast separation, it seeks unity. But now, look what has come to pass. Among reasonable beings,
It is they alone who have forgotten this natural inclination toward one another. Among all things of one kind, only man lacks the shared desire to come together. Yet even if we flee from nature, we are caught by it. No matter what we do, nature prevails. And this you will see if you but observe. For sooner may you find earth where no earth is, than find a man who can live entirely alone by nature.
Verse 8. Man, God, the world, each in their own way, bears fruit. All things have their season to bear. Though by custom we use the word fruit for vines and trees, yet the truth remains. Reason too bears fruit, some for others, shared, offered, useful, and some for itself, internal, quietly enjoyed. For reason is of a diffusive nature. What it is within itself, it begets in others. It spreads, it multiplies. Verse 9. Either teach them better, if it is within your power, or if it is not, remember this. For this very purpose, to bear with others patiently, mildness and goodness were given to you. Even the gods themselves are kind to such people. Yes, even in things like health, wealth, and honor, they often choose to help their endeavors. So gracious are they. And could you not be the same? Or tell me, what is it that stops you? Verse 10. Do not labor as one doomed to be wretched, nor as one who seeks pity or admiration. Let this be your only care, your only desire, that in all things, whether acting or refraining, you do so as the law of charity and the bonds of mutual society require. Verse 11. This day I came out of all my trouble. No, I did more than that. I cast out all my trouble. For that which troubled you, whatever it was never outside of you. It was within your own opinions. And until it is cast out from there, you cannot truly nor constantly be at ease. Verse 12. All these things, in experience, they are usual, ordinary. In their duration, they last but a day. And in their substance, they are base, even filthy. As they were in the days of those we have already buried, so they are now, no different. Verse 13. The things that trouble or affect us, they stand outside, beyond the door of the soul. They know nothing of themselves, nor can they speak anything about themselves to others. What then passes judgment on them? The understanding. Verse 14. Just as virtue and wickedness do not lie in passion, but in action, so too, the true good or evil of a reasonable, charitable man does not consist in emotion, but in operation, in what he does. Verse 15. To the stone that is cast upward, its descent brings no harm, just as its rise brought no benefit. It is unaffected either way. Verse 16. Examine their minds and their understanding. Look closely at what kind of men they truly are, those whose judgment you fear. And ask yourself this: what do they judge of themselves? Verse 17. All things in this world are in a constant state of change. You too are always changing, and in some part even decaying, and so is the whole world. Verse 18. It is not your sin, but another's. Why should it trouble you? Let him answer for it, to whom it belongs. Verse 19. An action has an end. A purpose too reaches its conclusion. Even an opinion, it ceases completely, as if it dies. In all of this, there is no harm. Now apply this to a man's life. First, a child, then a youth, a young man, an old man. Every stage a kind of death, yet none of them are causes for grief. Think now of the lives you've lived, the life under your grandfather, then your mother, then your father. Look back over all the stages of your life, all the changes, the shifts, the endings. Ask yourself, Was there sorrow in any of these transitions? Did you truly suffer through any of them? If not in those, then neither shall you suffer in the ending of your whole life, which is but one more cessation, one more change. Verse 20. As occasion requires, let your refuge be found quickly, in one of three places, in your own understanding, that it may resolve upon nothing unjust, in the understanding of the universe, to remember that you are a part of it, and in the understanding of the one you are dealing with, to consider, is he acting from ignorance or from knowledge? And remember also, he is your kinsman. Verse 21. You, whoever you are, were made for the fulfillment and harmony of a greater whole, a common society. Therefore, every action of yours must aim toward the completion of a life that is truly sociable. Any action, whether immediate or distant in effect, that does not serve the common good is disordered, misaligned. Yes, it is even seditious, like a citizen who breaks from the shared unity and divides himself from the body of the people. Verse 22. Children's anger, mere babble, empty noise, wretched souls, carrying dead bodies, struggling to keep them upright, only so they do not fall too soon, just as it is sung in that old mournful dirge. Verse 23. Look closely at the nature of the cause from which any effect arises. Examine it by itself, bare and unadorned, stripped of all material attachments. Then ask yourself, how long, how far in time can this cause, with its given qualities, truly endure? Verse 24. Countless are the troubles, the miseries you have already endured for this reason alone, that for all your search for happiness, it did not suffice you, or rather, you did not believe it was enough, that your understanding was working just as nature meant it to. That, in itself, was a complete and sufficient joy. Verse 25. When someone accuses you falsely, reproaches you with hatred, or treats you with contempt, go straight to their mind, look into their understanding, see what kind of person they truly are, and you will find there is no real reason to be troubled by what such people think of you. And still, you must love them, for by nature they are your kin. Even the gods themselves, in the things they value most, are willing to help such people, through dreams, through oracles, just as they help others. Verse 26. Up and down, from one age to the next, the same ordinary things circle through the world, unchanging in their nature. Either the mind of the universe considers every particular thing before it happens, deliberating in perfect wisdom, and if that is so, then submit with humility to the decisions of such an excellent mind. Or perhaps, once for all time, it resolved everything at once, and now, whatever happens follows by necessity, each thing bound to the next, indivisibly, inseparably. In short, either there is a God, and then all is well, or all things happen by chance, and still you may use your own reason, your own providence in matters that concern you. And if you do, you are well. Verse 27. Soon enough the earth shall cover us all, and then she herself will change. The cycle continues, from one stretch of eternity to the next, an unbroken, everlasting flow. Now ask yourself, can any man who truly contemplates in his mind the endless roll of change, the swiftness of these successions, the fleeting nature of all things, can he help but despise all worldly concerns? The force behind the universe is like a mighty torrent. It carries all things away. Verse 28. And these, your so-called politicians, the self-declared practical philosophers of the world, so full of affected gravity, so loudly devoted to virtue and honesty. What wretches they are in truth! How vile, how contemptible,
even in their own eyes, if they dare to look. Oh man, what a noise you make! Do what your nature calls for now. Resolve to do it, if you can, and take no thought whether anyone sees it or not. Yes, you may say, I must not expect a Plato's Republic. Still, if they improve, even a little, I must be content. I must value even the smallest progress. But do any of them truly abandon their false opinions? For without that, without a change of belief, what is all their display but the misery of slavish minds? They groan inwardly, yet put on a show of obedience to reason and truth. Now then, tell me of Alexander, and Philippus, and Demetrius Phalereus, whether they understood what nature requires, whether they could govern themselves, they know best. But if they simply lived for display and power, thank the gods I am not bound to imitate them. The mark of true philosophy is a quiet simplicity and modesty. Do not persuade me toward ostentation and vain glory. Verse 29. Imagine standing on a high place and looking down. Here flocks gathered, there countless sacrifices, ships upon the sea, some in calm waters, others tossed by storms. See the differences, the varied states of things, some just coming into being, others already passing away. The intricate ties between all that exists together. Think also of the lives long past, and of those still to come, and of all the people, all the nations living now in distant unknown lands. Consider how many have never even heard your name, how many will soon forget it, how many who praise you now may shortly speak ill of you. So then, neither fame, nor honor, nor anything this world offers is worth clinging to. What then is the sum of all? Whatever happens to you, if it comes from God, accept it contentedly. And whatever you do, if it comes from yourself, do it justly. That will be so, if in both your intention and your action you seek no other end but to do good unto others, for this is what your nature as a human being was made for. Verse 30. Many of the things that trouble you, that press upon you, are within your power to remove, for they depend on nothing more than your own thoughts, your own opinions. Let them go, and you shall find you have space enough.
Verse 31. Hold the whole world in your mind, see it all together, and let the entire course of this present age pass before you. Fix your thoughts on how swiftly everything changes, how brief the span from the birth of a thing to its decay, yet how infinite the time before its birth, and how vast the time that will follow after its end. All that you now see will soon pass away, and even those who witness that passing, they too will soon be gone. He who dies at 100 and he who dies young, both come to the same end. Verse 32. Consider, what are their minds truly like? What do they understand? What is it they chase after? What do they love? And what is it they hate? Imagine if the state of their souls were laid bare for all to see. When they believe they harm someone deeply by speaking ill of them, or when they imagine they do someone a great favor by offering praise. Oh, how full they are then of nothing but conceit and opinion. Verse 33. Loss and corruption are in truth nothing more than change and transformation, and that is what the nature of the universe most delights in. For by change and through change, all things are done well. This has always been the way of the world from the beginning, and so shall it ever be. Or would you rather believe that all things have gone badly for countless ages? That the world for all this time has moved in ruin? And among so many deities, was there no divine power to set things right? Is the world truly condemned to endless sorrow and misery forever? Verse 34. How base, how putrid is every common thing, water, dust, and from their mixture, bones, and all the loathsome matter that makes up our bodies, so prone to infection, so easily corrupted, and those things we admire, so prized, so praised. Marble? It is but the kernel of the earth. Gold and silver? Nothing but the heavy dregs of the soil. Your finest royal robes, what are they? Wool from a frightened sheep, dyed with the blood of a shellfish. And so it is with all things. Even your life, it is just the vapor of blood, and it too is ready to change into something just as common.
Verse 35. Will this complaining, this murmuring, this endless dissembling never come to an end? What is it that troubles you now? What is it that happens you now? Has something new really happened? Why such amazement? At what exactly? At the cause? At the matter itself? Look closely. Is either of them truly so weighty? Truly so meaningful? Apart from these, there is nothing. And as for your duty toward the gods, it is time you fulfilled it with greater goodness and simplicity. Verse 36. To see these things for 100 years, or for only 3, it is all the same. Verse 37. If he has sinned, the harm is his, not mine. But perhaps he has not. Verse 38. Either all things happen by the providence of reason, each part shaped for the good of the whole. And if that is so, then it is against reason for one part to complain of what serves the whole. Or, as Epicurus would have it, if all is governed by atoms, if life is nothing more than a chance confusion of matter, and death a mere scattering, then what is it that troubles you? Verse 39. Do you say to the rational part within you, you are dead, corruption has claimed you? Does it then pass waste as the body does? Does it graze like oxen or sheep? Is it truly like the body that it too must perish? Verse 40. Either the gods can do nothing for us, or they can still and calm all the distractions and disturbances of your mind. If they can do nothing, why do you pray? But if they can, why not pray instead that they grant you the peace to neither fear nor desire those worldly things that disturb your mind? Why not pray for the strength to be content whether they are present or absent rather than seeking to obtain or avoid them? Certainly, if the gods can help us at all, they can help us in this. But you may say, the gods have given me my liberty, and it is in my power to do as I will. But if you can use this liberty to free your mind, to free it from baseness and servility and desire for things you cannot control, would that not be better? And as for the gods, who told you that they cannot help us even in the things they have given us the power to control? You will soon find out if you but try and pray. One prays to obtain his desire, to lie with someone he desires. Pray then that you may not lust for them. Another prays to be rid of someone. Pray that you may patiently bear with them, so that you need not desire to be rid of them. Another prays not to lose his child. Pray that you may not fear to lose him. Let all your prayers be for this purpose, and see what comes of it. Verse 41. In my sickness, says Epicurus of himself, my discourses were not concerned with the nature of my disease. That, to those who visited me, was not the subject of my talk. Instead, I spent all my time considering what was truly important, how my mind, by a natural and unavoidable sympathy, might partake in the suffering of my body, but remain free from trouble, and in possession of its own proper happiness. I did not leave the care of my body entirely to the physicians, to do with me as they pleased, as though I expected anything significant from them, or thought it of great consequence to recover my health by their means. For my present state, I thought, pleased me very well. It gave me content. So, whether in sickness or in any other kind of adversity, strive to be like him. Do not depart from your philosophy, no matter what befalls you. And do not listen to the trivial talk of foolish people, or those who focus only on the physical and natural.
Verse 42. It is common to all trades and professions to focus solely on the task at hand and the tool with which they work. Verse 43. When you are offended by someone's impudence, ask yourself this question: what? Is it possible that there should be no impudent people in the world? Certainly, it is not possible. Do not desire what is impossible, for this one, whoever he may be, is one of those impudent people the world cannot do without. The same reasoning applies to the subtle and crafty, the deceitful, and all who offend. While you reason this way in general, that such people must exist in the world, you will be better able to respond with meekness toward each particular one. Also, in these moments, think about what virtue nature has provided to counter such vices. For example, against ingratitude, nature has given goodness and meekness as an antidote. And against other vices, there are other virtues suited to them. And generally, is it not in your power to instruct those in error? For whoever sins deviates from their purpose and is deceived. And again, what harm does their sin do to you? You will not find that anyone who offends you has done anything to harm your mind, the only true subject of hurt or evil. So what is there to grieve or wonder about if the unlearned person acts in an unlearned way? Should you not rather blame yourself for not having foreseen it when it was very likely that such a thing would happen? And especially when you find fault with the ungrateful or deceitful, reflect upon yourself. For without question, you are much at fault if you expected loyalty from one of such a nature, or if you did good to someone and did not think that by the act itself you had already received your full reward. For what more would you want? To him who is truly human, you have done a good turn. Does that not suffice? What your nature required, you have done. Must you be rewarded for it? As if the eye for seeing or the feet for walking should require satisfaction. Just as the eye and feet, appointed for their natural purpose, can demand no more than to function according to their nature, so too, when man does good unto others, whether by helping them out of error or assisting them with their desires, he is doing what he was made for and can demand no more.